A small family was living peacefully in a quiet town when suddenly disaster struck. An event turned their lives upside down. A young girl from this family, named Jayme Closs, vanished without a trace. What happened to her? And what became of the rest of the family? To uncover everything that happened and all the details, keep watching the video. But first, before we dive into the story, if this is your first time on the channel, please support us by subscribing, turning on notifications, and giving this video a like. Today, we turn our focus to the Closs family, especially their daughter, Jayme Closs. This small family was made up of 3 members, James, Denise, and their daughter, Jayme. In 2018, 56-year-old Jayme Closs worked at a poultry processing plant. Known for his calm and friendly nature, neighbors described him as a man who cherished his family and enjoyed the quiet life of his rural town. 46-year-old Denise Closs worked alongside her husband and was known for her deep devotion to her family. She spent most of her time caring for them, always attentive to her daughter Jayme's needs. Jayme, 13 years old, was in 8th grade at Riverview Middle School in Barron. Together, the Closs family lived a simple and peaceful life in their home in Barron, Wisconsin. On the night of October 15, 2018, at exactly 1 a.m., the 911 emergency center received a call from the Closs family home. During the call, no one spoke clearly, but the operator could hear muffled screams and noises in the background. Suddenly, the line went dead. Attempts to call back went unanswered. Following this mysterious call, police officers were dispatched to the Closs residence to investigate. Their arrival took just 5 minutes. Once on the scene, what they discovered was horrifying. Jayme Closs was found dead behind the front entrance, having suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the face. Continuing their search, they found Denise Closs also shot to death, her body lying in the bathroom. Jayme Closs was nowhere to be found and was considered abducted based on the circumstances. Police confirmed a child lived in the house through the home inspection and statements from neighbors and relatives. In addition to the parents' bodies, officers observed several key pieces of evidence. Spent shell casings from the gunshots that killed James and Denise. The front door had been broken open, suggesting a forced entry, and the bathroom door was also damaged. The home phone, used to place the 911 call, lying on the floor. 3 cell phones found in the house. The murder weapon, however, was never recovered, and there was a notable lack of physical evidence at the crime scene. Despite the brutality of the crime, the killer left no hair or blood behind, indicating careful planning to avoid leaving any trace of their identity. Yet, police were able to recover partial DNA from one of the spent shotgun shells. After a thorough inspection of the Closs family home and the discovery of James and Denise's bodies, with Jayme nowhere to be found, police strongly suspected that she had been abducted and had not left the house of her own free will. Signs of forced entry, including broken doors, and the murder of her parents led officers to believe the crime was targeted with the specific aim of kidnapping Jayme. This theory was reinforced by the Barron County Sheriff's Office, which issued a public warning the same day, classifying the case as an abduction rather than a typical runaway situation. Additionally, police stated in an early press conference that they believed Jayme was in extreme danger, given the evidence observed in the home and the brutal nature of the murders. A kidnapping following such a violent double homicide made it clear to authorities that time was critical. Every minute counted in the effort to save Jayme, prompting them to immediately issue an Amber Alert. After the horrifying crime and confirmation of Jayme's abduction, authorities, supported by the local community and other organizations, launched an intensive effort to find the missing girl. The first measure, as mentioned earlier, was issuing an Amber Alert to quickly inform residents of Jayme's abduction, in hopes of gathering any useful information that could lead to her recovery. Barron County Police also called in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and the National Missing Persons Program to join the search and strengthen the investigation. Police examined Jayme's phone for any clues, but nothing was found that could help locate her. Additionally, officers conducted interviews and collected DNA samples from all local residents listed in criminal records, comparing them with the partial DNA recovered from the crime scene, but no matches were found. Meanwhile, police installed motion sensors in the Closs home, hoping the perpetrator might return to the scene. About 2 weeks after Jayme's disappearance, a trespasser was caught inside the house with Jayme's clothing. However, he turned out to be just a thief, not the kidnapper, and the investigation reached a dead end. At the same time, police searched the area surrounding the Closs home, combing the land and the skies. K-9 units were deployed, along with drones, but unfortunately, these efforts did not lead to any clues about Jayme's whereabouts. In addition, police circulated Jayme's photos in newspapers, on TV screens, and on roadside billboards, asking the public to provide any information that could help locate her. As mentioned earlier, the local community played a significant role in the search efforts. Their mobilization took several forms. First, over 2,000 volunteers joined the search, combing forests and roads near the family's home. Second, several solidarity events were organized in support of the kidnapped girl and her family. Third, the community maintained constant communication with Jayme's relatives to keep them informed. As part of the ongoing efforts, Jayme's aunt made heartfelt media appeals, begging anyone with information to come forward. She was accompanied by Molly, Jayme's dog, who she said missed her owner and was waiting for her return. As mentioned earlier, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, was called in to assist in the search for Jayme Closs and to investigate the case, due to the serious nature of the double homicide and kidnapping that struck the Closs family. The FBI carried out intensive efforts and took multiple measures aimed at locating Jayme. These measures included: first, reviewing surveillance cameras around the Closs home, hoping to capture any evidence related to the crime as part of their investigation and information gathering. Second, following up on the overwhelming number of tips and information from the public regarding Jayme's whereabouts. Each tip was investigated thoroughly, but none led to a breakthrough. Third, offering a monetary reward. On October 24, 2018, the FBI announced a $25,000 reward for any information leading to Jayme's recovery. Notably, this reward was later doubled to $50,000 by the turkey factory where Jayme's parents worked. Despite weeks of efforts by both the police and the FBI, Jayme's location remained unknown. As time passed, hope of finding her began to wane, yet authorities continued to state that the case remained open. On January 10, 2019, 88 days after Jayme's disappearance, something happened that surprised everyone, but it was a moment of immense joy for the Closs family and the residents of Barron County. Jayme was found alive. Jayme, who had escaped from a place where she had been held captive, was found near the town of Gordon in Douglas County, Wisconsin, about 70 miles from her family's home in Barron. After fleeing, Jayme approached a woman named Jean Nutter, who was walking her dog, and told her she was Jayme Closs and needed help. Jean immediately recognized her, as Jayme's face and name had been widely publicized. Jean took Jayme to a nearby home belonging to the Kacinskas family, where the police were contacted immediately. Jayme informed Jean Nutter and the Kacinskas family of her captor's identity, Jake Patterson, 21 years old, and revealed the location where she had been held. Police quickly arrived at the scene, taking immediate and intensive measures, focusing on Jayme's safety and the capture of her abductor. The area was secured, and Jayme was moved under heavy protection to a hospital to ensure her well-being, even though she showed no visible injuries. Medical examinations later confirmed that she had not suffered any physical harm. At the same time, after learning the location of Jake Patterson's home, police secured the surrounding area and set up roadblocks to intercept him if he returned. Shortly afterward, police apprehended Jake Patterson when his car was stopped on his way back home. He immediately confessed to all his crimes, the kidnapping of Jayme and the murders of her parents. 88 days of captivity, combined with harsh winter weather, had a profound impact on both Jayme's physical and mental state. Her condition deeply moved everyone following her case. Physically, Jayme appeared thin and exhausted from the time she spent in captivity, with visible signs of fatigue and strain. She was also shivering from a cold, as her escape had occurred during a harsh winter with snow-covered ground, and she had no coat or gloves. In terms of appearance, Jayme wore no coat or gloves. Her clothes were dirty, reflecting the days she had spent in captivity. She was also wearing her captor's oversized shoes, far too big for her feet. Her hair was messy and disheveled, further evidence of her ordeal. Mentally, shock and daze were evident on Jayme's face. She was frightened and confused, yet she managed to identify herself and ask for help, even in a soft voice. Although she appeared calm, this calmness concealed the deep trauma she had endured during her captivity. On January 11, 2019, the day after her escape, investigators began taking an official statement from Jayme in a safe location, accompanied by her aunt. The focus was on the details of her kidnapping, the conditions of her captivity, and how she managed to escape. Later, Jayme provided a more detailed account to the police and the Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation, which helped build the case against Jake Patterson. Jayme initially recounted the events of the night she was kidnapped, including the arrival of her captor, the screams of her father James, and the sound of gunfire, her attempt to escape with her mother and hide in the bathroom, the intruder breaking into the bathroom and killing her mother Denise in front of her while she was on the phone with a 911 operator, the captor pulling her out of the house after taping her mouth, then placing her in the trunk of his car, being restrained in the trunk for about 2 hours. Jayme then described to police the hardships and harsh conditions she endured during her 88 days of captivity at Jake Patterson's home, located roughly 70 miles from her family's house in a remote rural area of Gordon, Wisconsin. She concluded her statement by explaining the method she used to escape and free herself from captivity. The following is a summary of Jayme's account regarding her time in captivity and the way she managed to escape. After kidnapping her, Jake forced Jayme to stay under his bed most of the time, surrounding her with boxes weighed down with heavy objects to prevent her from escaping. This kept her trapped in a confined, dark space. Jayme was only allowed to leave that space at specific and limited times, such as for meals, using the bathroom, or when her captor wanted to speak with her briefly. The most difficult periods for Jayme were when Jake left the house. During these stretches, which could last for many long hours, she had to remain under the bed without food, water, or access to a bathroom until his return. Jayme also endured severe psychological suffering, including threats of harm or death if she tried to escape or make any noise, complete restriction from leaving the house throughout her captivity, total loss of freedom, being entirely under Jake's control, constant fear, and extreme psychological pressure. Additionally, Jayme was forced to remain quiet and still whenever Jake's relatives visited. Notably, on the first night, Jake made Jayme change her clothes, then burned her original clothes, gloves, and the tape he had used to restrain her in an effort to destroy all evidence. During the first days of her captivity, Jayme lived in constant fear and shock over what had happened to her. This made her refuse food and avoid any interaction with her captor, Jake Patterson. Jake became increasingly angry at her repeated behavior, forcing her to comply with his orders. Jayme soon realized that, to stay alive and ensure her safety, she had to act wisely, avoiding anything that might provoke Jake while waiting for the right moment to escape or be rescued. She decided to remain silent, hide, and avoid drawing attention, while also cooperating with Jake and pretending to follow his instructions. This included playing board games with him, watching TV together, and speaking when necessary. Jayme carefully followed all his orders to survive. After 2 months in captivity, Jayme began to lose hope that help would arrive. She decided she had to save herself by finding a way to escape. Her first step, after overcoming the initial shock, was to observe her captor's routine, when he left, when he returned, and what he did most of the time. This careful observation proved crucial. Jayme was intelligent and patient. She did not attempt a reckless escape at the first opportunity. Instead, she planned carefully and waited for the perfect moment. On January 10, 2019, Jake left the house, telling Jayme he was going to look for work and would be gone for about 5 to 6 hours. As usual, he placed her back in her familiar spot under the bed. That day, Jayme realized she had enough time to escape and that this was the perfect opportunity. She immediately executed her plan, crawling out from under the bed, putting on Jake's shoes, and leaving the house. She ran as far as she could until she spotted Jean Nutter. As mentioned earlier, Jean helped her contact the police. Jayme was rescued and taken to the hospital, and Jake Patterson was subsequently arrested. The news of Jayme Closs's safe return brought immense joy and deep emotion to her relatives, authorities, and everyone who had followed her case from the beginning, as many had feared she might have lost her life. Residents of Barron County also celebrated her return, holding local festivities to mark the occasion. Jayme received widespread praise for her daring escape, which was considered an act of heroism. She overcame the shock of her parents' murder, faced her fear, and showed remarkable courage and strength to regain her freedom after 88 days in captivity. In recognition of her bravery, Jayme was awarded the Hometown Hero Award by the Wisconsin State Council. She also received the $25,000 reward offered by the turkey factory where her parents had worked, as she had effectively saved herself. The American media widely covered Jayme's safe return, giving the story significant attention. Major newspapers and television networks described her survival as extraordinary. Her case was particularly remarkable, as most long-term abductions tragically do not end with such a happy outcome. Jayme also received substantial emotional and psychological support from her family, the local community, her school, and authorities, who provided access to therapists and social workers to help her overcome the trauma. Notably, Jayme moved in with her aunt and her aunt's husband, who became her legal guardians. Meanwhile, the Closs family home was demolished, as it held painful memories for Jayme. Jayme Closs's successful escape and the arrest of Jake Patterson marked a major turning point, followed by a series of rapid and significant developments on both legal and personal levels. As mentioned earlier, immediately after his arrest, Jake Patterson gave a full confession. He later provided a detailed and lengthy statement to investigators during an interview where no lawyer was present. This confession allowed the police to uncover many details about the crime. Jake told police that he did not know Jayme or her family beforehand. He claimed that he first saw her at a bus stop, which sparked his desire to kidnap her. He also explained his premeditation and preparations before committing the crime. He shaved his head and face completely, wore gloves and black clothing, and cleaned his gun shells to avoid leaving any evidence. Additionally, he stole a license plate from another car to further cover his tracks. Jake provided full details of his break-in at the Closs family home, the murder of James and Denise Closs, and the kidnapping of their daughter Jayme, who he placed in the trunk of his car before driving her to his house in the rural Gordon area. He also told police about Jayme's captivity, including placing her under the bed, threatening her if she tried to escape, and playing music to cover her sounds. Jake denied committing any sexual assault against Jayme. 3 charges were brought against Jake Patterson. First, 2 counts of first-degree murder for the deliberate and premeditated killings of James and Denise Closs. Second, the kidnapping of 13-year-old Jayme Closs from her parents' home. Third, armed burglary of the Closs family home. In March 2019, Jake Patterson pled guilty to all charges: murder, kidnapping, and burglary. According to his attorney, this plea spared Jayme the pain and distress of testifying in court. On May 24, 2019, sentencing was handed down. Patterson was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of James Closs and another life sentence for the murder of Denise Closs, meaning 2 consecutive life terms. Additionally, he received 40 years in prison for the kidnapping of Jayme, to be served after the 2 life sentences. The judge also ruled that all sentences would be served consecutively without the possibility of parole, ensuring that Patterson would remain in prison for the rest of his life. The judge described the crime as one of the most brutal in the county's history, emphasizing the severity of Patterson's actions and that he would never be allowed to return to society. During the sentencing hearing, Jayme Closs's victim impact statement was read by her aunt Jennifer Smith. The statement included several key points. First, Jayme spoke about what Jake Patterson had taken from her: her parents, whom she loved dearly, her home, where she once felt safe, her room, which she cherished, and her personal belongings. She added that losing the most important things in her life in such a violent way would remain a lasting, traumatic memory. Second, she mentioned how her daily life had changed. She now uses a security system at home to feel safe while sleeping, and she finds it difficult to go out in public, often feeling fear and anxiety. Third, Jayme emphasized the things that Jake could never take from her, her freedom. She highlighted that she had been smart and brave enough to regain her liberty and would continue to enjoy it, unlike him. She expressed her determination to move forward and achieve meaningful things, which he could never do. Fourth and last, she concluded her statement by saying that Jake Patterson must remain in prison for life. After reading the statement, the judge praised Jayme's ability to express herself despite her young age, emphasizing that her courage had been crucial in revealing the crime and saving herself. The story of Jayme Closs carries several important lessons. 1. The power of will despite trauma. Despite her young age and the terror she endured, Jayme showed incredible courage and sought an opportunity to escape. This demonstrates that humans can face and overcome even the most difficult circumstances. 2. The importance of an alert and aware community. The woman who encountered Jayme on the road listened carefully and acted quickly by calling the police, which helped save her. Anyone can become a lifeline if they pay attention and do not ignore warning signs. 3. Support after survival is as important as the rescue itself. After her return, Jayme received immense family and community support, helping her rebuild her life. This shows that victims need not only rescue, but also help to start over and regain stability. 4. Justice can be swift when evidence is strong. Jake Patterson's confession and the details of the crime quickly resolved the case, sparing Jayme from testifying in court. This shows that the justice system can sometimes protect the victim from further pain. The most important lesson remains, even in the face of tragedy, hope and courage can save lives, and a conscious, supportive community is the first line of defense against evil. Finally, don't forget to support us by subscribing to the channel and liking the video. We'll see you in the next episode.